Is it just my imagination? Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Most of us discount our imagination, excuse me, because that's what society tells us to do. Uh, Society says that your imagination is not real. The society tells us that our imagination is not real, and therefore uh, what comes up in our imagination is non-existent, uh, not valid, not real, not of value, and that is not the truth. So what is reality? Reality is the sum or aggregate of all that is real or existent within a system, according to Wikipedia, and it opposes that which is only imaginary. Only imaginary. According to some dictionaries, reality is one, the state of things that are or appear to be rather than as one might wish them to be, something that is real, something, the state of being real, that which exists independent of human awareness. Huh. Most of us would agree that if we can see it and measure it, it's real. Except that's not entirely true, being able to see it and measure it. What we supposedly see with our eyes, in reality, is actually a construct of our brain based on the input from our senses. So what we think we see is actually complex calculations going on trillions of times a second inside our brain that interpret the information coming from our optic nerve, which then tells us that what we see is real. So it's not like a camera that shows this picture on the back of our optic nerve and then on the back of our eyeball and pick it up and send it to the brain. No, it's a bunch of impulses, ones and zeros, if you will, that are then calculated by the brain to construct the image that we see around us as reality. That's hard to understand or to take, but it's true. There's a story of a man who was blind for 40 years, and they finally, as science progressed, were able to restore his optic nerve so that he could see. And all he saw were colors, bunches of colors. He was not able to define anything because his brain had not been trained to see through his eyes. His brain had been trained to see through his other senses. So what he saw before him through his eyes made no sense. It was just a riot of color. So he had to blindfold himself again to be able to see. So what we see, the real what we see, are actually calculations on the brain that then interprets it as an image. And those interpretations of the images we see of reality are affected by our belief systems, by our training, by our experiences. And that's why different people looking at the same thing see different things. Looking at the same event can see something different. That's why eyewitness accounts are not always reliable. That's why the little challenges on the internet, you've seen them, tell us what color this dress is or what color something else is. Has so many people disagreeing because nobody sees the same thing in the same way. Please, click on the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Remember, I'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, suggestions. Put them in the chat box on the side of the screen, or if this is a replay, put it in the comments box below. So, we discount imagination because it is quote unquote not real. But the truth of the matter is that nothing comes into existence without imagination. Imagination is the most powerful force in the universe. And a spiritual warrior learns to use imagination as the powerful tool that it actually is. Albert Einstein said, imagination is everything. It's the preview of life's coming attractions. Einstein used imagination. He used it a lot. He used his imagination to explore the unknown, to tour the universe at the speed of light, and saw what was happening around him as he was traveling at the speed of light. And he came back from his trips to create the theory of relativity. And the theory of relativity changed the world of physics. It changed the way we see the physical world. You know, when advocating the power of imagination as they interviewed him later, Einstein went on to say, imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress and giving birth to evolution. Imagination. Neville Goddard, the visionary metaphysical teacher of the early 20th century, said, imagination is God. He taught that our imaginations are actually our deep inner consciousness communicating with us, and that deep inner consciousness is actually universal consciousness. And universal consciousness is actually infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence is God. So invention after invention, new breakthrough after new breakthrough are all the result of imagination. Imagination, powerful imagination. Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine, had a problem. It didn't work. He couldn't figure out the configuration of the needle. He was used to needles having the hole at the back end and just going through fabrics. And he made a machine that would do the same thing, only it wasn't working. Finally, he had a dream. And in that dream, he was being attacked by cannibals with spears. But what he noticed in that dream, that all the cannibals' spears had a hole in the tip of the spear. A hole in the tip. So when he awoke, he realized that he'd been given a sign. And so he put the hole in the tip of the needle, and the sewing machine worked. Imagination. Powerful imagination. Thomas Alva Edison, who was renowned for many inventions, always took naps. He took a nap all during the day. He held in his hand a ball, a little metal ball, and because he wanted to stay on the edge, and so it would take him into a dream state, and when he was going too deep into his sleep, he would drop the ball, and then it would wake him up. But he found that working in that dream state, working with his imagination, was a powerful tool. He relied on it to solve problems. I just watched a movie on Netflix called The Queen's Gambit about this girl chess player. And she was able to win so many matches because she was able to see, by looking up at the ceiling, all the chess pieces moving around independently, but showing her the many ways that a game could be played, and showing her the winning combination of moves. And as a result, she was able to win many games after game after game after game. Imagination. I can give credit to many things that happened to me in my life because of my imagination. Things that I've done that won me awards were because of imagination. It wasn't something I thought of myself. That was imagination. It was being fed to me by a higher source. So, on the subject of imagination, first thing I want to tell you to do is do not discount your imagination.
Things that I've
Do
done that
not
won me
discount
awards
your imagination.
because of imagination.
Remember,
It
the
wasn't
world of
something I thought of
imagination
myself. It
is
was
telling you, is your brain,
being fed to me by a higher source.
telling your brain that what you're
So,
seeing
on the subject of imagination,
is possible. Interesting point is that, as I told you earlier, your brain, what you see is actually a matter of computations, of calculations by your brain at super speed to construct these images. Well, when you imagine something, when you imagine an image, that's what also happens, is that your brain creates the images that you see in your imagination. And it can't tell the difference between what's quote unquote real and what's quote unquote imagined. It can't tell the difference. It's using the same mechanism to create the images. And so what you see can be what you get, because if your brain sees something and it's not there yet, then your inner self is going to work to make it happen, to make it true. It's going to move you in ways to get you to the point where it actually happens. Why is it going to do that? How can it do that? Well, it can do that because the world that we know of matter is actually made up of energy. Everything is energy. Everything is vibrating. Everything is moving. There is nothing solid. There is nothing still. Everything is moving. So if you see something that you want to, if you imagine something that you want to see in your life, and if you imagine it strongly enough, with enough passion, with enough energy, with enough belief that it is going to be, that it is now, because that's all we have is now, then it has to happen. It will happen. It won't be exactly the same way you picture it, but it'll be close enough for you to make you feel good about it. The universe is made up of energy. That energy is always moving. And that movement of energy is going to move into places that match. Remember, it must match. It must, through vibrations. Remember, your vibe attracts your tribe. It must, through vibrations, fit. So as you change your consciousness to be in line with that image that you see in your mind, then the reality is going to appear. It's going to be attracted to you. Because it's not, but the world is not permanent. The world is not solid. The world is always in motion. So what do I see in my imagination? In my imagination, I see spiritual warriors, you, vibrating in love and peace. And as you vibrate in love and peace, spiritual warriors, I see those around you being affected by your vibration, and they too begin to vibrate in love and peace. And those around them begin to be affected by their vibration, and they too begin to vibrate in love and peace. And those, as they begin to vibrate, those around them will begin to vibrate and be affected by them and begin to vibrate in love and peace. And on and on and on and on and over and over and over and over around the world, we can change the world. I believe it to be true because I have been told that it is true. In the book of Mark, chapter 11, verse 24, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And when you stand in prayer, if you hold anything against another, forgive it, so that your Father in heaven will forgive your trespasses as well. And so, my fellow spiritual warriors, I urge you to stop the destructive practice of saying, it was just my imagination. No. Your imagination is the most powerful tool in the universe. It is a powerful tool of manifestation. Believe in it. Trust it. Use it for good. Forgive others and forgive yourselves to remove all obstacles. And then imagine. On Wednesday, I'm going to come back and give you hints on how to better empower your imagination. Tomorrow I won't be here. Tomorrow is Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day. I'm going to be in the voting line, and I urge you to vote as well. I'll return on Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you then. Let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and our hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we are beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. And we know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain that we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for that, we are truly grateful. As above, so below, as within, so without, and so it is. Amen. So please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. And remember, I'd love to have your comments, your thoughts, your questions, whatever. Use the chat box or the comment section below the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on Wednesday after Election Day. In the meantime, I am Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.